Hi, my name is Julian. I work primarily with TMON documentation and web interfaces. We created the D-wire sensor as sort of a way to incorporate features onto a device that otherwise doesn't have those features. Those features may range from adding additional alarm points, or temperature and humidity, or even AC fail modules. And so I'd like to walk through the web interface and show you how to set those up and how they work. So to demonstrate the D-wire sensor, I'm going to be using a TempDefender G2. So on board there is a temperature sensor, and we're going to add another temperature and humidity sensor in the form of a D-wire. So we can accomplish this by going over to the side panel here and clicking on Sensors. And we're going to let it discover the ROM ID. So right away that we know that the first ROM ID is the onboard temperature sensor. So we'll go ahead and set that up, onboard temperature. And you can expand the details and you can set the record frequency, the deadband, qual timers, the units, as well as some thresholds. Maybe we can adjust some thresholds here. So major under we can say is, I don't know, 50 degrees. Minor under will be 60 degrees. And minor over we could say 80 degrees. And major over we'll set to 90. And down here you can see some gauges that we have, but I'm not going to get into that right now. So now that we have those, we can also say that the D-wire that we have here, you can tell what it is based on the first two digits of the ROM ID. A ROM ID of 28 is usually the very first part of the D-wire sensor, which is temperature, and 3D is the second part of the D-wire, which is humidity. So we'll say D-wire temperature, and we'll call this one D-wire humidity. And I'm not going to set up any thresholds for these, just for the sake of time. So once I'm done, I'll go down and click Save, and you'll see values saved locally. We're going to go ahead and go to Device Access and click Write. And just wait a moment and it'll say data is submitted to server if everything is okay. So now that we have our two sensors set up, we'll go ahead and hop back into monitor mode and click Sensors. And you can see here that we have our onboard temperature and it's reading 65.74 degrees in the room right now. And we also have the D-wire temperature sensor, which is also reading 65.07 degrees Fahrenheit, as well as a humidity sensor. Apparently it's pretty humid in here at 35.62%. And the minor under is just a generic threshold that the TempDefender gave it. So one of the cool parts about D-wire sensors is chainability. You can chain up to 16 D-wires at a time on units with sensor power. So this is just an example of a D-wire sensor with temperature and humidity, but there are a number of various D-wire sensors available right now. We have things like 1 alarm, 3 alarm, vibration sensors, and most notably released recently is the airflow sensor, which has been implemented on the G5. So that's just a brief overview of how to set up D-wire sensors using the TempDefender G2 as an example. So we got to take a look at the D-wire sensor, the temperature and humidity D-wire sensor, using the TempDefender G2 as an example how to set it up via the web interface. And I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and get the bell on.